Hi all, I hope you are having a good week. You may be aware that over the past few weeks there's been an ongoing consultation for teachers and pupils and anybody who wishes to put forward their ideas and thoughts on how pupils should be assessed this summer, and particularly surrounding the idea of mini tests or mini exams. That consultation period came to an end on Friday, and there was although no decisions have been made yet, there has been a document released giving some insight into that consultation. So I just wanted to share with you a few thoughts on that document. The first line from the consultation that's worth mentioning is this statement here, that several themes are emerging from the consultation already. What is clear is that there are no straightforward options for how exams are to be replaced. And I think any teacher across the country could have told you that already. Lots of people were calling for exams to be cancelled, and for very good reasons as well. But what is the alternative? The alternative obviously is that teachers assess pupils from the evidence that they've seen over the last couple of years, and they come up with a grade. What the government are worried about and what Ofqual are worried about is that these grades will be massively inflated if that is the case. This is what happened last year in the end. The grades ended up massively inflated on previous years, and they're worried that that's going to happen to an even greater extent this year. The rest of this document really surrounds the idea of mini exams or mini tests. And this first statement here, I want to tackle one thing head on: the proposal to have externally set papers or tasks to help teachers to assess their students objectively. Some have called these mini exams. This is not what we've proposed. And then the document goes on to discuss what has been proposed. And if you read between the lines, it sounds a bit like the consultation, the ideas or concerns that have come from teachers and pupils have been that exams are going to take place, but they're just going to be called a mini exam. And that's how Ofqual and the government are going to make sure exams are still happening. And pupils and teachers are obviously concerned with this. So they're obviously trying to knock on the head quite quickly this idea that exams are taking place, but they're just going to be called mini exams or mini tests. And they're trying to say that this is just going to be part of the process, and a mini exam or mini test provided by an exam board to help support teachers. So we can see here it says having something set externally provides a useful reference point and helps to support consistency between different students in a school or a college, and between schools and colleges. So it's two completely different things there. If they're being provided for teachers to use to differentiate the grade between different students within that school in order to support the teachers, perhaps that could be quite a good idea. When you then say between schools and colleges in different parts of the country, that sort of puts forward some sort of moderation process, external moderation process, looking at how schools have marked these mini tests or mini exams, which makes you sort of think, well, what was the point in cancelling exams if there's going to be some sort of moderation anyway? Particularly when you start to say, well, pupils from one school have missed a lot more time at school than at another school. So that surely would be the reason for them performing differently in the exams rather than ability. The next part of the document moves away from sort of asking for ideas and puts across more of a proposal of how things might look. And it says, and here is how it might work. Teachers would consider how well a student performed in the paper alongside other sources of evidence to inform their assessment of the grade a student should receive. And that does seem like quite a good idea, doesn't it? That teachers get given an exam paper that they can give to their pupils, they can mark it themselves, and it will help them alongside all this other evidence and data that they've picked up over a couple of years of teaching in order to give a student the grade they deserve. However, the next line says the exam boards could also sample teachers' marking as part of the external quality assurance arrangements and look to see how the school or college is using different sources of evidence. And again, if it's going to be an external moderation of teachers marking where grades could go up or down, then would it not have been easier just to keep exams in place and everyone would have known where they stood in that scenario if that's going to be the case? For example, if a school ends up giving quite high grades and an exam board questions that, samples the marking and brings the grades right down, have they taken into account the fact that pupils within that school or certain individuals have missed a whole lot of work, and that could be the reason why the teacher has given them a higher grade than the exam that they've taken suggests. So it seems like there still needs to be a lot of ironing of issues out in order to make sure this is a fair process, and will it ever be a fair process? There is then a proposal that teachers should have some choice of the topics on which their students could answer questions. Teachers could choose from a set of short papers or select questions or sections based on particular topics, so they could take account of what has or hasn't been fully taught due to the disruption. Again, great ideas. I think that's really good. So there's no pressure on teachers and pupils to complete the whole course, and they could start concentrating on certain topics because that's where the mini test is. That's what a mini test is going to cover. However, again, if you then bring some sort of external moderation in, how does that work if one school has answered questions on a particular topic and another school has answered questions on a completely different topic, and one school has included short mark answers only and another school has focused on extended mark questions, then it's completely different. So how are you going to use an external moderation process to make sure the grading is fair across all schools? The final paragraph says, I hope this explanation goes some way to allay concerns that some students have expressed to us that these are exams by the back door. So that's clearly what the consultation has shown. It's clearly shown Ofqual that students aren't really happy with the proposals about a mini exam or a mini test. So it would be really interesting now to see what happens, because that's clearly what the consultation has shown. Are Ofqual just going to ignore that and the consultation was a complete waste of time and they're going to put these mini exams and mini tests in place anyway? Or are they going to listen to what students have clearly said? Or are they going to disregard what students said and just listen to what teachers have said, perhaps? But it just begs the question, what was the point in asking for student feedback if you're just going to then ignore it? So I think the overall picture from that is that things are not clear and they're probably not going to be clear for a little while yet. Ofqual clearly want to put forward this idea of having some sort of mini test or mini exam that can be moderated if required and can be moderated in some respect to make sure that the grading is fair. What does all this mean for teachers and for pupils? It means the same as it seems to always mean for teachers and pupils. You've got to keep going and keep working. We still don't know how things are going to look. So it's just important for pupils to stay motivated and know that they've got to complete the course to the best of their ability and that they may still have some sort of exam or some sort of test. So there is an end goal there for them to work for. So it's really important everybody keeps working hard.